Hey folks, this is Waylon Lewis of Elephant Journal, and I'm going to be doing some more videos since I've mostly been doing Facebook Live videos, but I wanted to get back to touching in with our YouTube audience and also just sharing these videos on Elephant. Anyway, I didn't need to say any of that. Today I wanted to talk about something that every introvert knows intimately and all of us know at various points, which is kind of awkwardness or vulnerability. Recently, as I mentioned in my video yesterday, I got injured. My head snapped back to my spine. I was surfing in the wrong direction down and smacked my face into the seafloor. So I'm trying to adjust this to your video so I'm not too dark. But there we go. How's that? So I got injured. Can't raise my arm without assistance, although I'm getting a little stronger. Just got out of the pool doing physical therapy. And I went to this networking party. Normally, I love networking. It's honestly, I always say, if I die and I go to Valhalla and it's a big networking party, I will be in heaven. Just having random, shallow, but fun conversations, connecting with people, talking about what they're inspired about, what I'm inspired about, having a good time, eating some food, meeting some new people, seeing old friends. I love that kind of butterfly connection thing. Some people don't. But so I go to this networking party. It's Naturally Boulder in Boulder, Colorado. It's the sort of hub for natural products, for organic and eco products that may not be that eco, but often, sometimes, you know, are better than the average. And I couldn't lift my arm. I couldn't really eat. I couldn't get through a crowd. I couldn't move people around. I couldn't move my hand up. I couldn't shake people's hands. I couldn't even get my hand up without it falling. So the whole thing was just sort of awkward, and it really, in a sort of comic way, reminded me of all my friends who really hate parties and hate that kind of situation, and it made me really empathetic. I was like, okay, so this is sort of what they're dealing with. And obviously, introverted people aren't more insecure necessarily. They're just more introverted. So this injury reminded me of that feeling of wanting to get away from that kind of awkwardness and that kind of vulnerability. So none of this is pejorative or what have you on being introverted, which I think is a great thing. If you're introverted, it's a rainy day. You can see the mountains today. Grab a book, maybe things I would like to do with you, and you know, read away. Have your tea. The introverted life is cozy. You have your blanket. Got my blanket here. Anyway, from a Buddhist point of view, whenever we feel awkward or vulnerable, we want to run. We want to get away from that moment. I remember I would meet with my meditation instructor growing up, and they would just have a good posture. They would bow, as I should have done to you in the very beginning, to open the session. And then they would just look at me and kind of smile and just wait for me to share how my life was going, how my meditation practice was going. And then when I was young, I found that terrifying. I probably, frankly, would find that terrifying today. Just that spaciousness and that relaxation, that cheerful spaciousness. And they would stare at me, relax and smile and wait. And the space was terrifying, and I immediately had to fill it. So things have been good. You know, I might have done this or that, and I'm confused. But I would just really want to say anything just to fill the space. I still don't quite understand why that was so terrifying, or is. Sort of like being on a awkward first date and you just want to talk. You just want to get away from your raw, naked heart. So the next time, I think I'm curious how few people will watch this video, because most of us don't really want to be vulnerable. We talk a lot about on Instagram and in profound little quotes we're sharing around social media about vulnerability, about empathy, about making friends with our awkwardness, making friends with ourself. On Elephant Journal, there's a blog called Maitri, M-A-I-T-R-I, by Pema Chodron, or about Pema Chodron. That's about making friends with yourself, with your, not just the parts of yourself that you like, but the messy parts, the, you know, the pimples and the embarrassing parts of yourself, the 5 pounds overweight, the part, whatever you don't like, your wrinkles, your thinning hair, whatever you don't like about yourself, making friends with those parts as well. And not in some cheesy way, but in a kind of brave, simple, straightforward, full way, a brave way. So we talk about bravery a lot in Buddhism because the notion is that we want to be peaceful warriors. We want, in the Shambhala tradition that Trungpa Rinpoche talk about, it takes bravery to be open and to be raw. It doesn't take bravery to be macho or aggressive. Often being macho or aggressive is covering, where it's an attempt, just like me when I was young, to cover up your the space or the vulnerability or the fear. So the true fearlessness, as Trungpa Rinpoche says, is not avoiding fear or covering it up or trying to crush it, but to just be with it fully without trying to get away. And then, like Winston Churchill talks about, the only way out is through. Once you can go through the fear, it's like walking through the wall of fire. Anyone who has traveled has had that experience of being deathly afraid of being lost or alone or whatever. And then you realize, maybe, hopefully, at some point, you're capable of traveling and you can have a good time and you can expand your envelope. You know, going to college is like that, making new friends. So that's the experience of getting through what Trungpa Rinpoche talks about as the cocoon, getting through where it's safe and comfortable and you have your blanket, but maybe the air is a little bit stale. And at some point you long for the fresh air. And that longing is itself that brokenheartedness, that empathy, that awkwardness, that longing to stop running. So this is just a reminder that next time you feel that space, don't pick up your cell phone and diddle away. Don't fidget, you know, playing with your hair or whatever. Don't, you know, drink or do drugs or whatever. Don't just blab. Don't run away. Really just try and rest with it. It's kind of like in a sauna when it starts getting a little bit too hot. If you can breathe through that, or yoga when you're in a tough like position, and instead of giving up, you just kind of, without being aggressive toward yourself, you just kind of breathe through that toughness and you feel your heart, like almost the muscle of your heart, physically relax. And that relaxation allows you to be fully present whenever things are awkward. And that, my friends, is the path, the gateway that you have to travel. You have to travel through and on in order to be in love, to have a relationship, to run a business. If you run away from all those things, you're just going to be ADHD all the time. And no disrespect to those who are actually dealing with ADHD, but so many of us in the speedy culture, you know, from our president on down, on down to myself, can't read a page or two without jumping off to do 15 other things. So our ability to really relax and be present is where joy and love and success and genuineness all may arise. As I said a couple years ago, brilliance, and this is something I was taught, this is not me, but the present moment is where brilliance happens, where brilliance occurs, where love happens, where appreciating your coffee happens, where any kind of genuine connection with a human being, or even your, you know, your dog or cat, or as Trungpa Rinpoche talks about, just the act like in When We Are Six, the children's poem, when you're looking at rain fall down a window and you can be completely present as you were when you were a child, when you were 6, looking at that raindrop falling down the glass. Any moment when you're fully present, just looking at something, that's kind of what life is all about. So this is an invitation not to fill that space, but to just kind of breathe through it. Deep breath. All right. Hope you're all very well. And let me know if you like this, if you have questions, if you hated it. If people are enjoying these, I'll keep doing them. Until tomorrow.